Hi, I'm Rita Wildschut from Red Roof Studio, and welcome to Blank Canvas. However, today I'm not working on a canvas. I'm going to work with a t-shirt, and I'm going to make a sculpture, and it's called Garden Spirits. And garden spirits are made with my green sculpting medium. It's an environmentally friendly fabric hardener, and it will make your sculptures for the outdoors. And I've always wanted to make sculptures for outdoors, and that would last our climate. I could leave them out in winter and in summer. And what that had to be was bronze. Clay would crack, difficult to work with. But this is the alternative to bronze. So they can look like little bronzes, and yet they're made with fabric. As long as it's a real fiber, you can use this medium. And it's made here in my studio, and it is called, I call it also Garden Spirits Medium. So the same words go, GSM. My sculptures are called Garden Spirits, and they can go in the garden or stay in the house. And they're made, these ones I make is with t-shirt material, and they're figure sculptures. You can do birds, you can do animals, you can do anything you want. But the nicest thing for me is to do figure sculptures because it makes it so easy for beginners to understand how the human form works. And I'll show you by doing the right, correct proportions of the human form and how easy that can really be. So if we measure the human form, we go by the amount of heads that are on our body. And a normal body, a normal figure is 8 heads. So I'm going to make an egg as for our head. So here's 1, 2, and I've tried to make them the same. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I'm going to need my glasses because otherwise I can't see where I'm going to put the lines. So 8 heads is where we are at. So watch this. This is 1 head. Under my armpit is 2 heads. At my waist is 3 heads. And from my waist to my bottom of my butt is 4 heads. So exactly in the middle is where we are now with the 4 heads. From my bum to my knees is 2 heads. And from my knees to the ankle are another 2 heads. So here we go. I'm going to draw that on this board. So right in the middle here, 1, 2, 3, 4 heads. I'll put a foot there. A foot there is where we have the legs. 1, 2 heads is where your kneecaps are. This is the bottom of your bum. Right there, above there is your waistline, and I'll put a belt there. Then your armpits are right there. I put 2 dots there. And the top one should be your head. There we go. Now, on either side of your head, you will have another head. That's about how wide your shoulders are. Do you see that? There. So now I'm going to fill in the figures. So from the armpits to the waist, in there. This is going to be 1 line. From your waist to your kneecaps. Now first at your bum you're going to have a little bit more meat, and then out to the knees there's hardly anything. There's mostly bones at your knees. So here we go. There's your shape to the kneecaps. Now your calves have muscles, so that will be a little fatter too. And then at the ankles there's really nothing there. So there we go. We go right to the ankles where there's just bones. This is where we make the arms. The arms, the elbows are exactly, you can always measure that on your own body, is where your elbows meet your waistline. And I always, now should I tell that story now? If you had to cut up a body, you can make them these little parts, and they all fit in a suitcase. That's where that story came from. I always thought, gross, if we chopped all this in here. There we go. These are the measurements of your human form. So 1 head, 2 heads go to the armpits, 3 heads to the waist, 4 heads to the bottom of your bum, 2 heads for the kneecaps, 2 heads for your bottom feet. If we now have this, this is going to be our body. So it's going to be a different size, so I'll have to make a head first. So what I do is I'll twist a head on this one, and I'll hold it with the pliers because this is copper wire that I'm using, which is easy to bend. However, this is a very strong one. So I'm just going to make my hands are not that strong anymore. I used to do that by there. there we go. So we have a head. This is our first head. We're going to put a head on here with tinfoil later. But if you think of this as the bone structure, this is going to be your bones. Now you need 2 legs. You're going to need 2 arms. So we're going to put 2 arms on here. Twist this around. And this is the easiest way to learn how to do a human form without having a real skeleton laying in front of you that you have to draw from and figure out how this human body works. Because if we know it's 8 heads, we can do this ourselves with just wire. Now watch this. The toes should be fitting the top of the head. So here we go. And we bend it really tight. And I need pliers for this because it's really thick copper wire. There we go. And I want to keep that. Now, my hands are past the bum. And they are past the bum, but I don't want to have hands of wire. So I'm going to cut this off right at the bottom of her bottom. Oops, there. So they have the correct length, the legs. So now I'll show you. And there's my figure sitting just like that. Now I'm going to put in the kneecaps. And they go right here, right underneath her bum. And again, I'm going to give it a kink. Oh, wait a minute. It should be even. So now you know that that should be even because it's 2 heads for up to the knees and then 2 heads up to the ankles. So here we go. I'll just give it a little squeeze here. So that no matter what we do, if we fold this thing out again, and there she is. And now the elbows need to be right where her waist should be. So that should be 1 head from the bottom. And now you see that the hands are missing. And that I will add on later with the t-shirt, because that's how we're going to use the skin. So if this is going to be the bone structure of the figure, right there, then the tinfoil, the fleshing out, is going to be done with tinfoil. And I'll show you how that works. And then the t-shirt is going to be used to flesh her out, to give her the skin. So that's what this is going to look like later on. So I'll show you how that works. So here we have the human form, we have the proportions. Now I need to know where to put the tinfoil. So the tinfoil, I'm going to make another line from where this person, I'll put a head on here. That kind of goes like this. This is an egg head. There we go. There's the head. And then we're going to swivel around. So for the back, we're going to have that for the tummy, for the bum, for the thigh, and for the calf. Now this is what I call the volume where the weight of your tinfoil needs to go. So here I can feel my bones. That's my chest. In my back, I can feel my spine, and I'm not that skinny. I can feel my bones right there, and behind here is my bum. My thighs are, most of the meat is in the front. In the front of this, I can feel my shin bones. So there is no meat in front, that's a bone. There's calves in the back. So if you can think of the volume that you need to put your tinfoil on the human form with as this, that it swivels around this spine, then you have a little bit of easier way to apply the volume. And this is one of the easiest ways to make a human form. Now, what I have to keep in mind is, I had plans to use this beautiful driftwood I found at the Bassano Dam. I hunt and gather sometimes, and I go out and find beautiful pieces that I can use for bases to put my sculptures on. I can make standing ones, but this one was so beautiful, I wanted to put a fairy on this one. And so my figure has to kind of relate to the size of this. So I will have her sit on this, and I will plan how I would put her on here. I can have her feet up here. So I can play with this, what I would like to do. I can have both her feet up here or bend one. And have 1 foot up there. Her hands might do something. This is all about body language. So if you sit very straight with your hands like this is not a fun pose to look at. But this is the tendency we have to fill in our figure. And, oh, I have a figure now. She's sitting just perfectly, but this is not a very pleasant pose to look at. Now you can tell your story by arching the back. Now check out what happens when she arches her back. Do you see? Her head can go. Look how perky she looks when she has an arched back. So that gives a whole different language than if you would go sit and slump down. Now watch what happens when you bend it and have her sit like this. Do you see what a different body posture that is? What a different language that is if somebody goes like down like this. It's not the same thing as when somebody sits like this. So if I want to do a fairy, I think kind of an uppity kind of a figure that's a little bit more perky, a little bit more excitable, and she's up there wanting to fly and doing something wonderful for the world. So she's going to have an arched back, and she could be kind of sassy, having her foot up on there. That's kind of what I'm planning. Now her hands got to be doing something fun too, so I have to think about that yet. But I do kind of plan ahead of time how I might want to pose her onto this driftwood. So I have this in mind. This is kind of what I might be doing. And the arms, I don't know yet. She might be holding maybe a butterfly or something. I don't know. Anyways, this is the beginning. So I have my pose. I put my base away because now I have to flesh her out. This is the bones, and now I'm going to work for your fleshing out. Now anytime I take a piece of tinfoil, yay by yay. Don't have little tiny bits of tinfoil all squeezed up around it because they're going to fly all over the place and it's going to be really annoying. So at least this much tinfoil. I give her legs a little space so we can go in the middle. I will start with the bum. And as you see, there's nothing in the front, but there is in behind is where the volume should go. So right here in the front, I'm putting the tinfoil. And now right there I'm going to make two cheeks, which are really two little round balls. And they sit in behind. I can't resist. I will have to sing my little song. And here we go. I like big butts and I do not lie. So they do look really big. But honestly, by the time they're built, they look like they have just disappeared. But it looks like enormous when I make these little cheeks. But that's usually how I start because, now check this, she has to sit on them. You see that? There. So I can't have them underneath because then her body gets too tall. If I put them, they have to be in behind, otherwise her legs get too short. So I need to keep the length here. So they are really in behind. In behind. The bum is in behind. Now the next thing I'm going to do, she's going to get a waist. And again, I'm going to take this much. Very noisy. And anytime I build further, I put it over top of what I just did, connect it, and continue building. So now the volume will have to shift to the front. Now you can always squeeze the tinfoil tighter, but you can't go wider. So you kind of build it kind of big initially, and then you can start squeezing it while you're working. So this part now gets a little tummy, and then it starts working towards the back again. So here we go with a little hip and a little tummy. This has nothing, and then this becomes the shoulder. Now this is very exaggerated, but I haven't tucked it in yet. Now I just want you to see, I keep the neck exposed. I haven't really started building yet, but here is or shaping it, sorry. But do you see the little swivel in here now? So there's the back, the tummy, and the bum. I'm going to add the rest, and then I'll start shaping it. So I take another big piece. And it's every time yay by yay, if you notice that. If you put the tin foil on like so, you know that how thin tin foil is. It doesn't really add any volume at all. So I'm going to do one leg first. Now the thigh, that's the weight in the front. So I'm bulking it up here a little bit. Yeah. Attaching it to that part. Yeah. You can see how it's starting to form. Now I know it's not perfect yet, it'll come, but her leg, upper leg is always a little heavier than the bottom leg. So here we go with the bottom part. No volume in the front. Yeah, and it has no feet in it. The feet I'm going to make with the tin foil. So I'm squeezing it. Make a little calf there. And I can squeeze that tighter yet after, but as long as I have the basic shape there, I should be good. So twist this a little bit. I'm going to create a foot. And a foot is shaped like this. Oh, here we go. So you can see it here on the bottom. So the foot has a heel, and then it goes up here, and then there's the foot. See that? And this is like a little bit of a triangle. You see that? That's what a foot does. So I need a little bit of a heel. Let's see. And the nice thing when you work on a three-dimensional thing, you can keep turning that around and looking at it from all angles and go, oh, that looks really good on this side, but wait, it doesn't look so good from the other side. So then you have to squeeze it until you start to just get the correct shape you want. Okay, so I'm going to do the foot here first. So first I need a little heel and behind. There it is. A little heel. And then this goes up to a little triangle. If you notice this little part here, that's kind of bones. So that becomes a little triangle. And then this is going to be her flat feet. Now let's see. That's going to look like a foot. You just keep squeezing until you go, yeah, there it is. And my fingers are sometimes not as strong as I want them to be. So here is my little hammer. I will shape everything with my pliers. So the toes will go down. Do you see that? Arch in my foot. And this is good. The heel is good. You see that shape? And I like a little arch in there. And there's my little footsie. Now here, I know the shin is straight. So now I can start hitting this. I can do this at the end of the whole sculpture too, to kind of shape everything till I get it correct. So there, I have a foot. The ankle might be a little narrower, so squeeze that a little harder. And if things start to move, like this is moving a little bit, for that I have masking tape. So with the masking tape, I will support areas that I think, oh, they're not going very well. Might fall off, so I'll just tape it so it stays in place. One thing you don't want by the time you start wrapping the skin on there, that things start to shift and fall apart or move on you. So there, you want everything nice and firm. Okay, one leg is done. There. She will get tapped with my magic hammer yet into shape when I have her all together. So now I'm going to do the other leg. Again, I'm going to take a yay by yay. And have you noticed the volume is on top? So if you compare the two legs now, you see that the volume is there and then in behind. And now that's what I'm going to do. I always attach with one layer because that doesn't add any volume. One layer doesn't add, but it does hold the tinfoil in place. And there's my one layer, and I'm going to go around a little bit and volume up on the top. Now, I always wished I had learned this in university when I did my figure drawing classes and sculpting, how easy it is. We had a live model, and I thought, man, I can do this, and I understand it too. Look at these heads, how easy that is to understand. And once I could sculpt it, I could paint it. I never need a model anymore. I kind of figure out now exactly. Oh, I forgot the foot. Look at this. Okay, I'll have to add a foot to this piece. By doing it like this, I have the proper proportions. I can bend it to any pose I want. I can kind of see what I want. So I find this an amazing way to teach beginners that have never worked from a drawing or a model, that they can figure out how the human form works. So I do lots of classes like this with complete beginners. Actually, a lot of them are gardeners because they like to put a sculpture in their garden, especially this one is going to be a fairy. So you could be sitting in a tree outside rather than on a base, but I can't work outside today. Oh my, Okay, one more foot, and then I'll do the head. So you'll see how the foot goes. I'll do that later. I'll start with the head and do the top here. And let's see. I think I'll stick the head on first, and then... So for the head, I take again yay by yay. I take the front to the chest, a corner to the chest, and a corner to the back. And then I'll squeeze the neck really tight, so I can have actual neck there. And then for the head, I need to make an egg shape again. And the egg shape is like this. The egg shape is, so if this is the neck, you kind of see it here. I have to do it from the back so I can see actually what I'm doing. So there is the egg. There is the head, and then there, do you see the egg here? So this is the neck, and then this is there. Now, the egg, it has a pointy part, and it has a fat part. So the fat part is on top, and the pointy part is here. So you see your egg is not set on it straight up and down, but sitting a little bit forward. So that's what I'm going to do with this ball. I'm going to shape the head, and I do it huge, like a giant alien head first, so you can see that I have the base, and then I can tighten it to the size that I want. Now, and from my side, I can see already I have it right. How this, yeah. Now you also see if it's that big, the head, how childlike it looks. If it has a giant head, it means you're making a child. So if we are full grown, we have 8 heads, but when you're smaller, we're born with 3.5 heads, and the proportions then work out the same. So 3.5 heads, and that goes up to 8 heads. So think about a 6-year-old. What if she has 5.5 heads? You notice that the head hardly changes in size, but the body changes. So the head will almost be the same as soon as they're toddlers. That's kind of the head you end up with. It doesn't grow much more. But the body will change. So your body, in comparison to the head, looks small. The heads always look very big if you have a childlike figure. So if you want to make a grown-up figure, you do not leave the head this big. So we're going to keep squeezing until it looks like a human that is a little grown-up more than tiny. And I might just bring my pliers in again to do a little tapping and get that shape, to make that perfect egg shape. Tap it. You see how I can shape the head, and I'll do it straight, always looking straight at. By the time I'm done, I can always swivel the head, because that gives it personality too, or you can have it look up or down. But when you're building it, you make sure you have it straight on first. So now we're going to stick the arms on, and then I have fleshed out my human, my little human, and then I'll tap her into shape. So we're almost at the end already of the first session. So what we did was we fleshed out our skeleton. So if you notice, I did this in the middle, build up on the shoulder, to have a little bit more shoulder, and start twisting the arm. Now the arm does not have much meat on it. It's mostly bone, well, except mine, but most elbow bone, wrists are bones, so you don't need much tinfoil on these arms. So you might end up with a nice, skinny, cute arm. Because she's a fairy, and they're very dainty. Now, I will show you later on when you get to play with the human form and make it any shape and size you want, because that's the fun part. But initially, it's kind of fun to make a nice, dainty little fairy. Now, this one will get hands made with a t-shirt, so I won't have hands on this one. So I will take this off. There we go. And this is where her hand is going to add on. And now you see her arm. And now I have to make her shape a little bit. I will do that in the break. So when I come back, we will see how I have tapped her into shape and give her a little bit more of a hip. She needs a little bit more of a hip. This needs to be tapped in a little bit more. Her legs need to be shaped a little bit more, and I'll do that by tapping with this. But first we're going to stick this arm on. And then we have our fleshed out little figure. And then when we come back, in the second session, I'll show you how to skin her. The skin will be made with a t-shirt material, and that's how she gets her strength, and that's how she can stay outside forever. Well, for a very long time. Okay, I'll have this, and the hands will come up, and then maybe this can end up on her shoulder blade still, because she needs a little bit more of a muscle. So here we go. This can go up here, and I think I'm going to give her a little bit of shoulders. There are 2 round balls on either side of my corner here, so she will have a little bit of a shoulder here with this leftover, and I might have to tape this as well. And then this can go to the front, and then I'll tape her up a little bit more so she will stay together by the time I'm wrapping her up. So there can be no tinfoil flying around when I start working with the t-shirt. So I'll do that in a break, and then I'll be back. If you want to see more about sculpting or painting, we have classes here at the Red Roof Studio. We have in Brooks, we have a art club, the Newell Sage Art Club, and there is a pottery guild. So there you can do pottery. Brooks has more than just Red Roof Studio. But here we do the sculpting and painting. I'd like to thank you for watching Blank Canvas. And in the next session, I'll show you how to dress her up and get her some skin. Thank you for watching.